Hi, thank you for your question. First, I have to do my spiel. For anyone who's new, my name's MJ. I'm a trans man. I've had top surgery. I chose to leave fat in my chest because I am fat and I hold a lot of weight in my stomach, and I just felt like it made more sense because most men with my build do have moobs. So this is a good question. I was actually very nervous to go shirtless in public at first. I mean, I was excited about it, like I was super amped and everything, but I was very nervous and cautious as well. My concern was not so much for me, but for my family, because typically, like, in situations where I would be shirtless, like their family events, like going to the beach together, having a day at the lake, being at a hotel, like going in the pool, like these are all situations where I'm with my family. And when I had top surgery, my son was very young. So the first time I went to the beach shirtless, I actually prepared for it ahead of time. I grew out my facial hair, what little I could. I filled it in and everything. I dyed it. Here's a picture. Because I was just so scared of, like, what people would think. I was just really nervous. But to be safe ahead of time, I spoke to my family and I let them know that I was going to go off by myself for a little bit, and just see what happened when I, was shirtless in public for the first time. I figured this way, like, if something dangerous did happen, or if somebody just started to be, belligerent, my family wouldn't be there to witness it, especially my son. It was funny because not only did absolutely nobody care. I mean, I went to the beach on one of the hottest days, so there was, like, it was just so crowded you could barely move, and nobody cared at all. Absolutely nobody cared. The only time somebody even remotely, like, stared at me was there was a dude who was in the water when I was in the water, and he was about my size, like he was heavy set, and he had a t-shirt on. And I think he was looking at me like that because, I do have moobs and, a gut and stuff, and I was there shirtless. I know cis men are raised with expectations that I was not raised with. I was raised with the expectations that little girls and then women are faced with, and I've actually had men reach out to me, like cis men, and they say, like, that, like, me talking about my surgery and how I was so happy to have even moobs, like, for me just to blend in as a fat guy feels so good. That's helped them feel better about themselves. It's just funny how people view things so differently, because for a lot of cis men, like, having, fat in their chest is something that they absolutely don't like. They want to avoid. They're embarrassed. It's an insecurity. And to me, that's all I ever wanted. It was about 8 years ago when I first went shirtless, like after I had top surgery. So I've been consistently shirtless, like, almost every summer since then, and nobody bothers me. Even when I go like this without any facial hair, nobody questions me, nobody bothers me. I talk a lot about how I don't always pass as male, but the thing is, I've learned that it's very situational. For instance, when I'm out with my husband and son, people typically presume that I'm just a masculine woman, and I think that's because of the dynamic. We have a very different dynamic. But the reality is when somebody sees somebody walking that's, big, heavily tattooed, bald and shirtless, they just presume you're male. Sometimes people will be like, oh no, that's because nobody's gonna actually come up to you and, like, say anything to you about it. That is so not true at all. Being a trans person, you realize just how much gonads people really have. So yeah, it's a very, it was a very freeing experience, but it was also very anticlimactic, but in a good way. Like, I was so scared that the worst could happen. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what if I get jumped? I live in a red area, so I was very nervous, and nobody cared. Nobody gives a shit. The only people who give me any shit about being shirtless are people on the internet. But in real life, I just get on a fucking pizza float that I got because I skipped out on my library fees when I was 8 years old. It's a long story. And I just float away. You know what I mean?